There's a sneaky little gland in the middle of the hindquarter that you have to be aware of if you're going to butcher your own game animals at home. You won't see it until you fillet open the hindquarter, and if you're not careful, you'll cut right through it and contaminate all of the meat with its bitter taste. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to identify and remove this gland. Let's get started. So here I have the hindquarter of a whitetail deer harvested here in Pennsylvania. First step is to remove the lower portion of the leg. I've butchered game animals at home for over a decade, and over the years I've had a few different methods of removing the lower portion of the leg, but lately this joint method is how I've been doing it, and it's become my go-to. You want to locate the joint right here where the leg naturally bends. If your hindquarter is fresh, like before rigor mortis sets in, you can bend the leg really easily to help you locate the joint. But if the leg is already stiff, like mine is here, and frankly it will be in most situations, unless you're really quick to skin and butcher your deer, you need to put some muscle into it to bend the leg and feel with your hands to find the middle of the joint. You'll feel the thin, soft space that separates the two bones. And once you think you've found it, you'll just cut with your knife straight through it. And I promise you can't mess this up. So if you start to cut and you're feeling resistance, just move your knife down a little bit or up a little bit and keep trying until your knife slides right through. Now these muscles on the back of the leg are going to be used for ossobuco or grind meat. So you don't need to worry about exactly where you cut through them. It'll be fine no matter what. Now it's time to remove the femur bone. I find it easiest to work on the inside of the leg. So this is the outside of the leg and this is the inside. You can start to visualize where the bone is by taking note of the ball from the hip joint, which is the top of the bone, and where you just cut through the joint, which is the bottom of the bone. Start by tracing the natural seam that exists between the muscle groups. You'll use the tip of your knife and your fingers as needed to pull apart these seams until you hit the bone. Now you're going to switch your strategy and use your knife to fillet the meat off the bone. We want to try and cut as much of the meat off of the bone as possible. So take your time and cut the meat off the bone stroke by stroke until it is completely freed from the meat. Now at some point, it'll be helpful to flip over the hindquarter to cut some of the seams around the bottom portion of the femur, but you just want to keep your cuts around the bottom so we can remove the bone in one swoop without cutting through other cuts of meat or that pesky gland that we're trying to remove. And you can do this a lot quicker than I am here, but I'm doing my best to keep as much meat off the bone as possible. Now this cut on the right is called the top round. We have to remove this cut in order to fully see the gland. I'm pulling the cut of meat away from everything else with my left hand and then using the knife to cut along the natural seams that are exposed when I create this kind of tension. The seams that separate these different muscle groups are made up of this white, almost web-like sort of connective tissue, and it's really easy to use your knife tip or sometimes even your finger to break this connection and separate the different muscle groups. We'll set that aside and finish cleaning it up in a minute. Now the gland is located right here in this pocket of fat. The easiest way to remove the gland without cutting through it is to start up at the top and cut away at the femoral artery. The femoral artery is this soft tube. It helps to pull it away from the meat with one hand while using your knife in the other hand to cut at the seam. Take your time around the ball of fat that encompasses the gland. If there is any place that you can mess up, this part is it. It's important that you don't cut directly through the gland because it can end up contaminating the rest of your meat. If you do cut through it though, don't panic. Just immediately wash and dry your knife and then continue butchering. Once the gland is out, you want to discard it and you're ready to continue butchering the rest of your hindquarter. Now, I do have a lot of other videos on how to butcher your deer. Those will be linked in the description box down below. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.